Hi everyone, and welcome to MMT Mondays. So this week we're going to talk about the shortfalls of a universal basic income, also known as UBI. So due in large part to former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang and the COVID-19 pandemic this past year, UBI has gained a lot of notoriety and consideration. So think about it. Every single American over the age of 18 receives a guaranteed $1,000 a month. Sounds great, doesn't it? Sure. As it's used to literally pay people to stay home in a pandemic, it makes it a wonderful idea. Every other country has had to do it because the pandemic has changed up the circumstances to place billions of people in survival mode. Billions of people are about to lose their home if they haven't already, or they're on the brink of starvation. But have you thought about the impact of having UBI in perpetuity? So as you will see, what initially appears to be a great thing ultimately will only serve to maintain the status quo of the current exploitative system. So in our first video, Dr. Pavlina Tcherneva sits down with real progressives on Steve Grumbine to discuss how some of these pitfalls there are of the UBI. So she describes that while certain basic income guarantees, such as universal child allowance, paid family leave, and expanded Social Security, they're great. She's not in favor of a universal basic income for all.
I've been a friend of the basic income guarantee since 2000 when I first started talking to the academics. And only recently in the popular press, basic income has become so popular. But we've got the same goals. We've got the same objectives. We want to get rid of the precarious nature of the labor market, right? We want to make sure that people don't live in poverty. So we have same objectives, but we have different views of how we get there. And there are many different versions of the basic income guarantee, so I want to be careful which one I'm talking about. I am fully on board with the universal child allowance. We should do it today. We should have done it yesterday. Paid family leave, various other income supports, expand, strengthen Social Security, disability benefits, etc. But there is this one proposal that is universal, right? Unconditional, provided to all at living level. In other words, $20,000 grant and to anyone, rich or poor, irrespective of whether they work or not. Let's call it $10,000 grant, right? There are a number of problems that I have, but one is a philosophical objection here. That the basic income is motivated by the right sort of arguments, but it only provides access to the system as is structured, right? You get an income, you get a check, and then you have to go and buy the childcare, the education, the healthcare, all these other things that you need. So it is not in and of itself, a check is not transformative of the system that creates the inequities that we want to correct, right? We want to transform, to make the system, the economic system more just. We want to provide decent wages. We want to provide healthcare. We want to provide childcare, environmental care. The basic income in and of itself is not an institution. It's a payment. And so there is this idea that, we're going to get our checks and we will be able finally to participate in the labor market and get affordable care. Well, I can tell you, I get an income and I have difficulty getting affordable childcare. So childcare is already missing for people who have incomes. What suggests that childcare will be there, affordable childcare will be there if we provide the basic income grant? The problem is the economy. The economy doesn't provide the things we need. It's not just the simple absence of income. So I see no reason why I should tell people what they should want. I find this a little bit in the basic income crowd. They say, look, the basic income is liberating. You don't have to go to your miserable job. Well, a lot of people are craving jobs, and it's not my business to tell them whether they should or not work. My job is to actually create the opportunities that they desire. So how about we create decent work? So, it's not our job to put people into miserable jobs in the private form what work is, to put a decent labor standard and through a program that is not tied to private profit, but is tied to the public good. So we really expand the definition of what's useful work. We provide these other opportunities that the private sector is just not in the business of providing jobs for all. It's a very basic fact of life. And that is the function of the public sector, to guarantee that basic human right in a humane way. So we can again think of very very interesting models of providing work in the community, to enhance participation, involvement, to transform the communities and even the production process itself. Perhaps food doesn't have to be provided for profit, sustainable agriculture, right?
I started off thinking, wow, we can go ahead and provide people with the basic income. And you basically helped me understand, well, many people have, but just now, I think you said it very succinctly. Bottom line is that you can give us money, but childcare is still unaffordable. You can give us money, but these different aspects of life are still unaffordable. And I've read, I'm giving the Minskys a lot of credit here. I want to make sure they hear this. They wrote a great article the other day. Somebody was commenting about not so much a basic income guarantee, so much as a basic needs guarantee. And the way they wrote it out there was so powerful, and it addressed exactly what you're saying. Instead of just a basic income, I'm going to provide you these things that the capitalists of the world can raise the rates up to match your big and screw you up to begin with. And, and actually provide you with the necessities so that life is not an unnecessary struggle, so you can self-actualize. I mean, to me, I just fell in love with it. That just sent me into a wonderful place.
Yeah. I think I had tweeted something saying, the basic income guarantee makes perfect sense if the grant is not cash, but in terms of real goods and services. And, what are you going to do with the enormous cost of healthcare if you get $10,000 a year guaranteed, no questions asked? You can't do anything with the basic income grant. And the thing is, this is the problem, that there's support on the right and the left for this program. But the very strong support on the right is to replace a lot of the welfare programs, to replace the welfare, the safety net essentially, with the basic income grant. And I have to say that some people on the left have conceded, the basic income could be more efficient. And I completely disagree. Like the way you solve a problem is you solve it directly. Your problem is expensive healthcare. You provide affordable healthcare. You don't provide cash. You provide affordable healthcare. If that means controlling drug prices, if that means busting the monopolies, if that means providing a public option, that's what you do. If the problem is inadequate childcare, you provide it. You don't provide a grant so that people can buy it on the market. You directly provide what is necessary.
It's like school vouchers.
Yes, exactly.
Same exact problem. And that's what, I'm sorry, that's what kills me, is the very people that would fight against school vouchers are many of the same people fighting for a basic income guarantee and don't realize that, once again, the wealthy will still go to the best schools ever. They'll have a check in their hand to help offset that, while the poor will still be segregated in these bad schools because they can't afford to get there. I mean, anyway.
So Dr. Tcherneva explains that while she's not in favor of a universal basic income for all, mainly because it provides access to the current system as structured, but it fails to address the inequities that we actually want to tackle in our society. Put quite simply, UBI does not match the problem with a solution. We can't solve an issue that is deeply rooted in our society by giving cash to pay for it when the basic necessities in our society are not affordable to begin with. So in our second video, Dr. Stephen Hale keeps it short, sweet, and to the point regarding the usefulness of a universal basic income. Dr. Hale believes that it would only serve to create more pitfalls than benefits because it tolerates involuntary unemployment and poverty, all while having negative inflationary effects.
Any universal basic income in an economy like the US would either be so low as to just basically subsidize low-wage employers and be an excuse for tolerating involuntary unemployment and an unacceptable level of poverty, or it would be inflationary, in which case it wouldn't meet its objectives Anyway, we're not going to go through the job guarantee idea. Now you've discussed that with many people on this show before, including Pavlina Tcherneva, but there are so many ways in which a voluntary, well-designed job guarantee is far superior to a standalone universal basic income. That's not to say that a basic income cannot be provided to people who refuse to participate in a job guarantee scheme when they have the opportunity to do so. That's another issue. But a universal basic income versus a job guarantee, the job guarantee obviously wins.
As we can see, at first glance, the UBI looks like the great liberator from our dead-end jobs. But actually, it only serves to perpetuate the same system that put people in that job to begin with. As Dr. Tcherneva explains, while a UBI does provide certain benefits, ultimately it only serves to help perpetuate the status quo rather than transform the system that originally created these inequities that we see today. If we're to ever truly begin attacking the inequities that only serve to grind groups of people down, we have to face the problem head on. If healthcare is too expensive, we must provide affordable healthcare. If childcare is too expensive, we must provide universal childcare. So what is that solution exactly? How can we go from stopgap measures to radically altering what it means to earn a living wage? Make sure to tune in next week when we provide the solution to the pitfalls of a UBI, when we discuss the transformative potential that a federal jobs guarantee could have in the United States. So, if y'all liked what you hear, make sure to check out our website at realprogressives.org, and y'all have a great week.